All right, hello and welcome. So, if you've been learning German, you've probably wrestled with three of its famous cases. Well, today we're tackling the fourth and final one, the genitive. And trust me, this isn't just one more rule you have to memorize. It's the key that unlocks how Germans talk about possession and relationships. So, let's close the case on the genitive, shall we? So, here's our plan for today. We're going to start with the one question the genitive was absolutely born to answer. Then, we'll build it piece by piece. We'll also cover a really fantastic shortcut that you'll hear constantly in spoken German, and we'll finish up by making sure you know exactly how to avoid the most common mistakes. So first things first, what is the genitive's main job? Its primary mission? It's really all about answering the question of ownership, or, to put it more simply, whose? The key question word you need to know is Wessen. So if you want to ask, whose car is that, you'd say, Wessen Auto ist das? Get that one word, Wessen, stuck in your head because it is the gateway to this entire case. So the crucial takeaway here is that the genitive is all about possession. It's how you say things like the man's car or the color of the house. You could just think of it as the German equivalent of adding an apostrophe S or using the word of. It's really that straightforward. All right, now for the fun part, the mechanics. You know, building the genitive really just comes down to two key changes. One little change to the article and one change to the noun itself. Let's break them down. First up, the articles. And hey, right away, there's a really helpful pattern that emerges. Masculine and neuter nouns, they both use dis. And feminine and plural nouns, they both use der. So instead of having to memorize 4 totally new articles, you really only need to remember 2 combinations. That's part 1. Easy enough, right? And here is part 2, the golden rule for the nouns themselves. Now this is critical. Only masculine and neuter nouns get an extra ending, usually an S or an ES. That's why we have this Mannes and this Kindes. Now look at the feminine and plural rule. No ending at all. Just knowing this one little detail will help you avoid the single biggest mistake. Okay, so we've got our 2 building blocks, the article and the noun ending. Now let's see how they actually come together in a full sentence. Just look at how the core of the sentence, das Auto ist rot, it just stays the same. The only thing that changes is who owns the car. So for the masculine Mann, we get des Mannes. For the feminine Frau, it's simply der Frau. See? No extra ending on the noun. And for the neuter Kind, it's des Kindes. It's a really clean, logical system once you see it laid out. Now, just when you think you've got it all figured out, German adds another little layer. But don't worry, this one's pretty logical too. There are certain prepositions that just automatically trigger the genitive case. You're going to find these a lot more often in written or more formal German. Here are some of the most common ones you'll run into. Words like wegen, which means because of, or trotz, in spite of. So if you wanted to say in spite of the rain, you'd say trotz des Regens. The preposition trotz forces der Regen into the genitive. Same thing goes for während, meaning during. Während des Films means during the film. Okay, here is a huge tip. This is going to make you sound way more like a native speaker. The rulebook says these prepositions take the genitive, but in everyday conversation, you will constantly hear Germans cheat and use the dative case instead, like wegen dem Wetter. It's technically incorrect, yeah, but it's completely normal. So the takeaway is this. Use the genitive for your exams, but listen for the dative out on the street. And hey, speaking of spoken German, that brings us right to our next section. This is the practical, everyday shortcut that so many German speakers use to express possession without even touching the genitive at all. The shortcut is really simple. Instead of the formal genitive, you just use the preposition von plus the dative case. So the very formal das Auto des Mannes becomes the much more common das Auto von dem Mann. It's a little bit longer, sure, but for a lot of speakers, it's just easier and more natural to say. And let me be perfectly clear about this. This is not bad German. The von plus dative construction is a completely normal, totally acceptable, and universally understood way to show possession, especially when you're just talking. It is a fantastic tool to have in your back pocket while you get comfortable with the formal genitive. Okay, we've covered the rules, we've covered the shortcuts. So to finish up, let's lock in all that knowledge by looking at the 3 most common mistakes learners tend to make. And here they are, the top 3 things you need to watch out for. Number 1, forgetting that crucial S or ES on masculine and neuter nouns. Number 2 is basically the opposite, accidentally adding an ending to a feminine or a plural noun. And number 3, mixing up your articles, like using the dative dem when you really need the genitive des. Just keep an eye out for these 3, and honestly, you'll be in great shape. Okay, time for a quick little challenge to put it all together. How would you complete this sentence? Das ist das Büro of my boss. Now, remember, chef is a masculine noun. I'll give you a second to think about it. The correct answer is minus chefs. So let's break it down real quick. My becomes minus in the masculine genitive, and since chef is a masculine noun, it needs that final S ending. Minus chefs. Perfect. And just like that, you have the full set of keys to the German case system. You see, the genitive isn't another barrier to learning. It's the final piece of the puzzle that lets you express ownership with real precision. So the question isn't whether you can learn it, it's what new conversations you're going to unlock now that you can. Thanks for watching.